Kagurabachi 119 is kind of crazy, and to start this review off, I want to address the elephant in the room, which I realize is quite nondescript because there's like 5 elephants in this room. Well, we're going to be discussing my elephant. This analogy's got away from me. The point is I'm going to discuss a theory that I had that I think is coming true because previously I said if this politic negotiator non-sorcerer guy who was sent to negotiate with the islanders ends up sustaining an eye injury on his right side at any point during this altercation moving forward, then he is absolutely most definitely what will become Hat Shaku, because he arrives, he has the kind of right jawline, he now has the motive because the islanders murdered all of his friends and displayed obscene, horrific violence in front of him, and also because he was holding a hat similar to Hat Shaku's in his left hand, and we know that he favors his left. So I was like, if anything, oh, and he sat under the pine tree. Duh, kind of important to mention that bit. Now, the one thing I said before was I already think it's him, but if anything happens to that man's right eye, then it's him. Guaranteed. What happens this chapter? Well, once Aryu, Mikaboshi, or Eren Yeager as I was calling him before, wakes up, we see that boss man's eye starts bleeding. So, yeah, some people think he's dead and that I'm crazy, but I don't care. That's pretty, you know, yeah. It's him. Get over it, probably. Anyway, time to address the other elephants. Yes, so Aryu Mikaboshi, the crown prince of the Mikaboshi survivors, is obviously not dead. He seems to have healed, and then he performs one of the craziest speed feats in the history of anime manga, to the point where some people are just like, that doesn't make any damn sense, because how is the light not reacting? Like, is he just that much faster than light? But it doesn't make sense because the light's picking it up first, so it doesn't make sense, but who cares? It looks cool, and Hokuzono is getting so inventive with the way that he's portraying these normal tropes, you know? Like, the normal Shonen Jump speed blitz kind of thing is, it's been done before, we're finding new ways to do it. Who cares if they make sense scientifically? It's fiction, no one cares. Or it might just be an ability that he has, like it could just be an actual bit of sorcery, but either way, he blitzes past... What's his name? I was going to say Mikaboshi. It's not. He blitzes past Mashiro, sticks his hand into his stomach, and is like, "Aha, I've got you." And then Mashiro's all like, "Bruv, I'm the baby here. Why are you like ambushing me, you idiot, bruv? Everyone else is gonna mess you up now." And then Mashiro does his sorcery thing. I think he's probably gonna survive. Now, what was crazy about this is Shiba is the one who stood there and said, "Whoa, that ambush was insane." When Shiba, Mr. Ambush himself, you know, Mr. Speed Blitz, when he sees something like that and goes, "Oh my god, what the hell?" It's cooked, bruv. It's like if Minato stood there and was like, "Holy shit, that guy's fast." It's not a good sign, bruv. All of them then just start piling on Aryu into the forest. That's when we learn that Hito Soga has a bit more aura than Yoshinojo because he is the only remaining practitioner of Kurasuchi style, which is a type of sorcery in which a black energy sort of appears as a sphere behind you, and you can use it to bash the sword down and create a pocket of gravity that crushes your opponent. I imagine that's just one way of applying it, but what's very interesting about this is it leads me on to another theory I have that I will discuss in a moment, because we thought the Magatsumi's black energy thing was kind of Seki and Mikaboshi related, but I don't think that's the case, because this is the second time now that we're seeing one of the good guys, using a move that is actually belonging to the Magatsumi, but then we're seeing the actual, like, insect being used by their opponent, because in the final page we see Aryu Mikaboshi ignore the gravity in this awesome page and circle like a white centipede around him. The gravity-related ability in the Magatsumi is Centipede. It's the one that you literally smash down the same way Hiruto did, and it creates that exact gravity effect, right? But it's not called Centipede, it's Soga's sorcery, and the Mikaboshi guy is now the one doing the Centipede. It's the same how last time Mashiro did a sorcery that was the same as B, but then the guy he was fighting had B. So what I think this means is basically when creating the Magatsumi, the reason why it's so far beyond everything else is because Kunishige decided to mix in a combination of the Soga's Kurasuchi sorcery and the insect theme going on with the Mikaboshi. I think it is the combination of two that ultimately overcame both, and I think that would be very symbolic, and I'm going to make a bigger theory video kind of deep diving that, but I really wanted to get that off my chest because I feel like it's fool me once, alright sure, fool me twice, nah, this ain't a coincidence. It's happened twice in a row. It's very deliberate from Hokuzono, so I'm pretty sure that's what the Magatsumi is. And it's very possible that the other 5 enchanted blades, or maybe all 6 of them, are modeled around the, I was going to call them 6 generals, but they're not. They're the 6 guardians that we see living down under in the Seki powered rock, or like mini kind of island underwater where the Mikaboshi have been hiding all these years. They, you know, pray to the Seki, and they have achieved its true, at least these 6 people have achieved true realm, and the true realm of the Datansaki is what allows this big kind of underwater rock thing to sustain human life, even though there's no light or food or all of that stuff, right? So yeah, the Datansaki is why they survive, and also what gives them some crazy powers. There are 6 guardians, and I'm really happy about that, because I always wanted, you know, going into the Seitei War flashback, to have actual opponents, like named proper opponents to be scared of, that we can see, you know, someone like maybe Seiichi Samura pull up in the war and 1v1 one of the 6 guardians, or you know, these are characters that I feel like can justifiably go up against an enchanted blade that isn't the Magatsumi and do pretty well and actually make it a fight, which is going to be a really interesting concept to tackle when we get into the war part of the story. That is pretty much the chapter, to be honest. There's a lot of like extra words. There's what looks like the severed head from one of the warriors starts talking. I don't know what that's all about, but yeah, like, oh, and there's the whole ritual thing of Aryu, you know, when they show the Lisan Al-Gaib June style ceremony thing they're doing. He like drinks a pot of like crushed up venomous insects, which is some, I don't know, there's just some stuff going on. And then at the end he pulls out his sorcery Sumika, which I think means residence or dwelling. The art is just beautiful. Shiba's kind of, you know, shitting himself. I do think he's probably about to kill everyone except Shiba, who gets away unscathed. But yeah, I think this chapter is so much more important than anyone kind of realizes, mainly because it's telling us potentially who Hat Shaku is and exactly how the Magatsumi works, and what Kunishige did to that sword specifically that made it so different to all the others. I really do think it is the ultimate culmination of the Soga's power and the Mikaboshi's power into one source, which again would be very symbolic of like the merging and sort of coexistence and harmony between 2 opposing forces for such a long time. And something that I really do want to point out in this chapter as well, when we see the, you know, the king talking, or the flashbacks to the June style congregation of Mikaboshi descendants, we do kind of get the impression that they have been taught with the idea that the Soga are the evil and false heroes and ultimately, you know, need eradicating or whatever. And we do learn that back in the day, a Soga called Ukizane is known for doing the exact same thing Soga did and wiping out their whole island civilization as they once ruled Japan and kind of drove them into the sea. It's sort of a history repeats itself. It feels very Attack on Titan, but I think the very important thing to take from it here, and the way that I see this story panning out now, is that neither side is right and neither side have the right history. Again, very Attack on Titan. If you've seen, I don't want to spoil it, but if you've watched Attack on Titan a couple times, you'll realize what I'm talking about. It feels like the same kind of Hellos situation that we've got going on, where neither side really has the full history because it's been so long, and neither side is really in the right or in the wrong. I think they both are just 2 parties that are at war with one another and have been for a long time, to the point where they've kind of lost sight of why they are even like at odds with each other, right? So yeah, and then the Magatsumi is ultimately Kunishige bringing those 2 powers together to create something beyond both of them, and that's the, you know, the mistake was he gave it to Soga, who is a Soga and does Soga things, and then he's so good. Oh, he's so good all over the place, and then the island got so good. You get the idea. There was a lot to get through in this chapter in terms of implications, but not a lot to get through in terms of actual events. The actual events is literally just Aryu's alive, he pierces Mashiro, and then everyone freaks out and attacks him. We see that Hiroto has some really sick Kurasuchi sorcery, and then Bossman locks in at the end. That's pretty much the only thing that actually happens. All the rest of it is looking back on, you know, the lore of the Mikaboshi and the 6 guardians and their beliefs and why they're here and what they're doing, and a lot of kind of hidden exposition and implications and context for things like Hat Shaku, for things like the Magatsumi, and for things like the Mikaboshi themselves. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'll wrap the chapter review up there, and then I'll actually do like a longer, kind of more thought out theory video for a change, and I'll either put that on this channel or on the main channel, I don't know which. But yeah, amazing chapter. The art is just fucking beautiful. I'm really upset that Hiroto and Yoshinoja are probably gonna bloody die, which would suck because they're so cool and it's such a waste. I'm also so, like, I don't care, but I'm standing on business. I'm so on board with the Hat Shaku theory now. But yeah, Hokuzono's cooking. You can tell he knows what he's doing. So yeah, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in a bit. Peace.